This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs.
Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for the CoreTCG November Ultimate Cup that happened this past weekend. It was a 470 player event with 9 rounds, and most importantly, it does have the new ban and limited list implemented for it. So no EX3 for this event, but we do have Cross 4 at 1 as well as the Duro Greymon at 1 and everything else from that ban list. So really important kind of distinction there to take in consideration for it. And also, before we start, one, I'm on the road right now, so that's why the audio quality kind of sucks, but sorry about that. Two, big shout outs to Core for giving us the list to give to you guys, as well as shout outs to Human and Vexus for doing the stream for this event. There's a link to the Twitch VOD for the entire tournament in the description, as well as in this document that's also in the description, as well as make sure to follow Vexus and Human on YouTube. There's going to be links to their content in the description as well. So, and lastly, if you guys haven't hit that like and subscribe button, please consider doing so. It takes a lot of work to make these videos and these breakdowns, and I would greatly appreciate it. Going into this top 16, though, we do see that big half of a pie chart slice there for MetalGaruru X at 8 copies there. We have 2 copies of WarGrey X as well, 2 Mastemons, 1 Grandis, 1 Crossheart, despite everything, a Blue Flare, as well as a Jesmon. So honestly, pretty diverse besides, again, the MetalGaruru X, and I don't think this is any surprise with it was the best deck in my mind still after before the ban list, and since 2 of its greatest competitors with the Duro Greymon as well as Crossheart just getting hit just means that, oh, well, cool, best deck, easy. And we'll just see how much. We did have Jose Salas with MetalGaruru on X. Again, Jose's on really a tear. I feel like I can't go a month without saying that he's won an event at a large scale. He's just doing very, very well with it. And yeah, so we do have, I think, a good kind of diverse kind of second half of this pie chart, though, to go over. And I am excited to kind of jump into those decks. So starting off, we're going to go with Jose Salas's MetalGaruru X, and then just go to the top list with every top placing list, again, starting with Jose Salas's MetalGaruru X. Starting off, we have Jose Salas's first place MetalGaruru X. And I don't know what else I can say about either this archetype or just Jose doing very, very well with this archetype. I feel like this has pretty much been his same deck list for a while, just after seeing all these deck lists. Not that there's, I'd say, a lot of variety for the MetalGarurumon, but it is such a strong archetype right now, and I think it's almost, I almost want to say it's like tier S in a card game like this, like tier 0. It's getting there. So some just kind of text that I see in Jose and just the most of the matches he does is he does like to run like the one of Kakai's Breath, the one of Hammer Spark. He is running the red package for only 1 Delicate Plant, which is really interesting there. We do also have the Hero, which you can use this to get your Digimon +5 or higher, which is quite nice. It can just be any of them too, so it could just be for WarGrey to make it an 8K with the Hero, and that's for both swings, which is kind of nice. We also do have the Mat and Sora, just another red tamer for the Delicate Plant as well. If you have 8 or more cards in your hand, you gain 1, and if your opponent has 8 or more, they gain 1, or you gain 1 for that at the start of your turn, which is nice. And when one of your red or blues Digimon becomes suspended, you suspend this to return one of your opponent's level 3 to their owner's hand, which can be nice for like if there's any like obnoxious level 3s for it. So both like neat little text for it, and just kind of go through there. So I think that is new, and there is just the add of the Omni X antibody, which has been, I see a lot of people just adding 1 for it. It's really nice, especially against something like security control, where you can make sure to get the big bombs and security out of it. But man, it's just a very, very solid archetype, and I don't really know what else to say about it. So just congrats to Jose there. You're going to get this deck banned, Jose. Like, it's just doing super duper well. Next up, we do have Jarrett from Arizona on this third place Grandis here. So I think like on their last tournament that we covered, the CoreTCG in-person regionals in Texas, we had a lot of Grandis. And now that is a different format because they did not have the Cross 4 Duro Grey limited to 1 like we did have for this tournament. But it's still just a solid list for what you're doing. And kind of like how in WarGrey, we saw that we tech some red stuff for some red options. We're teching some blue into this deck to just get some blue options and just some interesting consistency things. So first, Davis is really good at what you're doing. You really don't care about Mimi in this deck as much because you're just making one big line. You don't really care about the rookie in the back as much. and you do kind of care for a hybrid for game at times, but the Megadeth for your option here too is just very strong. So obviously you need to have the Davis, or I guess you can just hard play the Korukakumon if you really, really need it. But yeah, you really don't need anything green for like the Mimi Tamer to supply for any options. So I do like the little blue ad for you. Add some consistency, add some card draw, which sometimes you just have a hard time finding your 4 or 5. And that's like the one thing I don't like about green. For me, I always get stuck on a level 4 or level 5, and I just can't go up my chain. So, and then everything else I think is pretty standard for the archetype. Obviously, we did get the Kukuagumon. In this new set in BT10, that adds some more consistency for the X antibody because it's just a 0 Digivolve there. Terriermon's always been strong. And then also the Roachmon too for, let's say, a hard cast of 3, you can go up your chain. Or it's just a Digi for 1, which you also see here on the Weedmon as well as the Kabuterimon. So good ads there. And then just the kind of the top end. So just, I think Grandis is really strong, I think in general. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's probably, I'd still say it's like tier 2. And it's going to be interesting to see if it's still going to be the best green deck after we get the Bloom Lordmon and Hydramon in EX3. So congrats again to Jarrett there for their 3rd place finish. And then next up we have Momin Khan's 5th place WarGrey X. And we haven't seen any Black WarGreymons in the top 16 in a hot minute, but WarGrey X I think is a very, very strong aggressive deck, and it was something where Crossheart and I'd say Alphamon were probably better at doing the same thing. This is still has a lot of consistency for it and can just blow up your opponent's security very, very easily. So you do have like the easy Agumon package, the X antibody package, which is so nice. For a lot of this stuff, we do have the 1 of Metal Gray from EX1, and as well as the Ultras mode. And then we have the security check there, which is, we see all this like red to prevent security for like the WarGrerumon. Obviously this has it too, but there are no securities in this top 16. I'm curious to know if that's just because it wasn't being played as much, or because a lot of kind of decks teched against it as well. And then we do have the X antibody, which is very strong at being able to get rid of a bunch of that security and gain a lot of memory to do your things. 2 Omnimons as well as an Omnimon X here too, which just again we talked about. It's very, very strong. If you go up to, you're very strong with it. And then just 3 X antibodies, 3 red mem boosts, 3 ties to get that extra security damage, as well as some Cool Boys, because Cool Boy is so good. You can find pretty much every chain. The fact that it can find your level 7 compared to the Blitz Omni, I think is another kind of cool thing for this Cool Boy. So congrats again to Momin for their 5th place there. And next up we have our 7th place. This is something I think a lot of you guys are surprised. I made a tier list a couple days ago, and I put this in trash, and mostly because I didn't like how soon this was getting nerfed after release. But honestly, this deck is still good. It does have some things for it. There are some texts for the one-ofs that we did get to it. So this is Wilson Jison's 7th place Crossheart. So one of the Shoutmon Cross 4 and 1 Side Ranity's Buster, because you can't run more than that. But there are some really nice texts here. So I saw a lot of people just kind of say like, oh, now that Cross 4 is at 1, we have to run King version, which it is strong there. You do get to treat it as a Shoutmon. And then also on play, you can return 1 card from your Digicross requirements to your trash your hand. When you Digicross this turn, this Digimon may replace one of the Digicross requirements. And also material save. Yeah, just being able, this does let you get like Cross 4s back or Cross 5s back, which is quite nice. It's just a little cute play there. And then 2 Death Xmon, which I think a lot of these decks were trying to run, and they found space a little bit tricky for it. So guess what? It's super easy because you can just use all these Cross 4 and Sunrise Busters out of there. 2 Crimson Blaze, which is great, strong card. Sunrise Buster there. Fireballs, 1 tie, and then the Mikeys and just the Tamers from there. So honestly, I think like a lot of this deck was still just good because you were able to be aggressive with playing your Digimon while playing your Tamers, getting advantage for doing stuff you wanted to do anyways. And obviously, I think the Cross 4 at 4 is a mistake, while Mikey is at 4 too. I think these two kind of butt heads of what the actual problem of this deck is. But when you're still able to run the Mikeys, the Cross 5 is good, and sometimes just better if you have all your pieces, because this is free if you see everything. And if you're missing one thing, it's only cost 2, and this is a 1 cost at all times unless you have the Mikey, or sorry, the Zenjiro here, and then a 3 if you're missing something. So I think this is strong still. Obviously, I don't think people as much are playing it as much because they just have that bad taste in their mouth. But I am it is interesting to see. I'm happy that it still gets a top, even though it did just kind of get 2 cards hit pretty hard on it. So again, congrats there to Wilson. And next up we have Zach Taylor's 8th place Mastemon. And I do like Mastemon a lot as a deck, and I'm happy to see that's topping again in this format. It just had a really, really hard time in the OTK format that we had in PT9 because decks would just win way too fast, and this is a deck that just slowly regenerates security and gets a lot of effects out of it. But if you are just losing all your security all at once, it really doesn't matter, and it really can't keep up. So I think this is a pretty strong build of it. Nothing super duper new. I think the newest card is Death X. There's no BT9 cards in it. Besides, again, this Death X, or no, sorry, no BT10 cards. My apologies in this. Besides that, but it's just a strong one there. The Maiko here, being able to get your searching going, as well as getting your 2-color purple and yellow Digimon. It's just really strong. I like what this deck does. There's a lot of recursion. There is RNG depending on what you trash and what your security a lot of the time, but being able to go into Mastemon and get your abilities off, you'd be able to use Chaos Mode, your Flame Health Slice, everything just seems strong. So anyways, congrats to Zach again for their finish there. And next up we have our 9th place Blue Flare, and I think this is, I like this deck. A lot of people say it's not as good as it could be, or there's a lot of kind of playing around it that you can do with this, and I think that's a good agreement for it. Your opponent can say, well, they're playing Blue Flare, so don't play 2 Digimon out. Easy, right? But I think there are some decks that's really, really tricky to do against, and you will have a hard time kind of playing around it. And there's still ways to stun without that kind of effect. So some ads for this is that Sorjo, I think, is in a strong spot. I think with Shoutmon not being as popular right now, it's not as good, but it is really strong there. And this is kind of like a more techy version. I do like the ads for it. So only 10 rookies. We do have 4 of the Blazing Bamboos. We do have the Greymon that you can put underneath the Digicross for the Metal Greymon to give it security attack +1, which means that if you have this Greymon and they have 2 Digimon out, and you can just do that damage there. You have to find another way to put the Greymon underneath it a second time, but that is something you can do with like the Decker Greymon. You can put it on top on a Digivolve for 2. And that's, I don't know. There are ways to do some combos to do a lot of damage with it, but I think that it just has like some. I'd say like this is out the gate like a more balanced version, or like kind of fair version of like the Digicross and Crossheart stuff, is just because you don't play as much stuff for free, and it really depends if you find your Gaussmons or not. So, anyways, I like Blue Flare. I'm happy to see it gets the top. I think people were expecting more of this. I'm expecting more for this, so I'm looking forward to see what happens in the EX3 meta. But strong list, and congrats again to Shawn for their 9th place there. And to finish this video, we have Arvind's 12th place Jesmon. Another list I think that a lot of people really do like Jesmon, and they just have a hard time getting it to play correctly or get the consistency with it, especially since Crossheart prevented people are playing those rookies that prevent you from playing stuff, and this deck definitely gets hurt with that because you want to be able to free play a lot of these Sistermons here. So one big kind of cool thing too is that this is based off of it uses Gankuamon. It's more of a GX heavy field, so this just goes really, really tall. So using this, it has block, and also when digivolving, you may play 1 Digimon or Sistermon from your trash from your hand without paying its memory cost. Then if this is Gankuamon or you have a Sistermon in its play, all your Digimon gets +2k until the and your opponent's effects can't return their hands until the end of the next turn. So very good stuff there. And then also just the Jesmon GX. So there's no Jesmon standard. It's just the GX version, or sorry, the X antibody version of it. And being able to get piercing, and then when you play 1 Digimon with Sistermon from your hand or trash without paying its memory cost, you play that, and then if a Jesmon is play or you have a Sistermon play, it just gets everything +2k and can attack unsuspended. So you kind of do this line because I think these are just better when digivolvings for the GX. So you get to get the Blitz effect. You're able to copy a Wind Digivolving effect. So that can be playing a sister. You just play another Sistermon, and then you get the +2k, and then either the can't be returned or reduced, which is strong. And so just hard saying, you know what, let's go into the GX every time. That's just a better end game for us. I think it's a really interesting tactic, and it obviously kind of worked out there. So running a lot of Sistermons to do your effects, especially since the Seal can do this into a Royal Knight on play. So you can use you can play X antibody will play Seal, and then you can use Seal to go into the GX there. And same thing with Gankuagumon, or not Gankuagumon, Gankumon there too. So I want to try this build out. It looks really fun, and I think it's a solid. You don't see a lot of Jesmon top still, so it's happy there. Anyways, that is going to be my top 16 breakdown. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Make sure to follow both Human and Vexus on YouTube, as well as to check out the Twitch VOD for this event. And that is going to be it for me. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.